today we are going to learn under this matter view. There is a difference of mixture and compound. Mixture and compound. So under mixture, what is saying? The compositions are mixed together without any chemical. Just they are mixed together without any chemical reaction. So when we mix the two components, the new component is not forming. So when two or more mixed together, new component is not. Suppose A component mixed with B component, there remains A and B separate. So A is not losing properties, B is also not losing properties. They are present without forming a new substance. But in a compound, here A and B react together producing CD compound. So here in this case, so AB components react together, means here two or more components chemically react together producing a new compound. So here is a new compound is forming, but a new compound is not forming in mixtures. Second, a mixture has a variable composition, means so this A and B can be mixed. So 2:3 ratio, or it is a 4:9 ratio, like different. What are the ratio? They are mixed in the variable ratio. Mixed in variable ratio. They are mixed in variable ratio. But here is they are always mixed in a fixed proportion. Here is a fixed proportion. So here is the mixed components are not losing their properties, means they are not producing a new substance. Here this A and B compound, means two or more components are chemically combined forming a new compound. Here is the components are mixing in a variable ratio, in any ratio. But here is the components are combining in a fixed proportion, a fixed ratio. That is the one. Next. So this component shows the properties of the individual components. Shows properties of individual components. That means A is not losing properties. After mixing, A remains with the same properties. B is not losing properties, B remains same properties. So that means a mixture shows the properties of the consistent composition. Now here a new substance forming with the different properties. So the properties of the compound changes differs from the combining compound. The combining compounds. So you can say a new substance is totally different from properties from the reacting substance. The properties of the new substance different from the properties of the reacting substances. Fourth point, these components in the mixture are simply can be separated just by filtration or by any physical methods like boiling, like that. But in the compounds, the composition is not separate easily, but these are separated by chemical reactions. So here is a separated through physical methods. They are separated by chemical process or chemical methods. So here saying, here this mixture and compound differs. In mixture, the components are simply mixed together. They do not forming a new substance. The components are mixed together but not forming a new substance. But here the components are chemically reacting, forming a new substance. Here the components are mixed in variable ratio, in any ratio. Here the components are combining only fixed proportion, fixed ratio. So properties of the individual components retained. And understand, the properties of the individual components retained without losing the properties. But in this case, the properties of the new substance is entirely different from the properties of the reacting substance. The properties of the new substance entirely different from the properties of the combining substance, chemical reacting substance. So in the mixed sense, the components are separated through physical method like a filtration, boiling, evaporation, like this, physical methods. But in compounds, the components are separated only through chemical methods, chemical process. So that is the difference. Now let us see the one activity. What is the now taking a concentrated solution of copper sulfate activity then under this activity take a beaker with a concentrated copper sulfate, concentrated copper sulfate. Solution. Take the constant copper solution, that is a aqueous solution, then add a piece of aluminium, a piece of aluminium sheet, aluminum sheet. What happens? So here is the, after a few minutes, after a small interval of time, when we observe the aluminum sheet or aluminum foil, you can take a foil or sheet, what you say, aluminum foil. Observe this aluminum foil. You find that red dots, spots are forming on the surface of the aluminum foil. These red dots are nothing but copper, nothing but copper. And copper sulfate react with aluminum, converted into aluminum sulfate and copper. Aluminum sulfate and copper. So like this, so the aluminum replaces the copper in chemical react. That removed copper deposit on the aluminum sheet. So here the chemical reaction takes place. Of course it may be displacement reaction. Chemical reaction takes place so that the copper is depositing on the surface of the aluminum foil. So after some, yes, so the solution becomes the blue color. You see, copper sulfate solution, blue color solution. After reaction, you find the solution losing its color. That is, blue color disappears. It becomes a colorless. So that indicates copper sulfate is a blue color. When it changes to aluminum sulfate, colorless. So in this chemical process, in this chemical reaction, copper replaced by aluminum, forming aluminum sulfate is a colorless solution. Then the removed displaced copper or removed copper deposit on the surface of the aluminum foil. Okay, this is a chemical reaction. So here we are separating the copper from the sulfate by using chemical process. So this is called chemical reaction. This is called chemical reaction. So because of chemical reaction, copper ions present in the solution with aluminum and copper metals is separated. Understand here? So in copper sulfate solution, copper ions present. These copper ions are reduced to copper by taking electrons. So next one. Here this copper cannot be separated from sulfur and oxygen by any physical process. So we cannot separate this copper from sulfur and oxygen by any physical methods, that's only by chemical methods. It can be separated only by chemical process, means chemical reactions, but not by physical methods. So therefore, copper sulfate is a chemical compound. It is a chemical substance. Thus is a compound. So therefore, copper sulfate is a compound. Understand me? So we can say copper sulfate. We cannot separate the copper, sulfur and oxygen just by means of physical methods. Just they can be separated by through chemical process. They are separated through chemical reactions. Hence, copper sulfate is a compound. Copper sulfate is a compound. So how can we define the compound? We can define the compound as the pure substance. Compound is also a pure substance that can be separated into two or more components. This compound can be separated into two or more components only by means of chemical reactions. Understand here? Now what we concluded? We are separating the copper from copper sulfate by means of chemical reaction using aluminium. So therefore this is called chemical reaction. So through this chemical reaction we separated the copper. First point. Second one, copper from the copper sulfate, copper, sulfur and oxygen are not separated by simple physical process. They are separated by chemical reactions. That's why copper sulfate is a compound. So how can you define the compound? A compound is a pure substance. Compound is also a pure substance because the same composition present, the same elements, same composition present in each particle, in each molecule. Therefore, copper sulfate is also a pure substance that can be, means the composition of the components present in this compound. Components present in this compound are separated by chemical reactions only. So therefore, a compound, we can define a compound as a pure substance that can be separated into two or more components only by means of chemical reactions. Only by means of chemical reactions. Therefore, it is a compound. Now we have two types of pure substances: compound and elements. So there are pure substances, two types. One is called element is a pure substance and compound is also a pure substance. Element means only one kind of atoms are present in the substance. Say for example, sodium. Substance contains only sodium atoms, no other atoms. Only sodium atoms are present, so it is called pure element. Suppose copper element is there. Only copper atoms are present. So it is called copper element. Like a chlorine element. Chlorine is also element. So that chlorine substance contains only chlorine molecules, no other molecules. So therefore chlorine is also pure element. But compound is also pure compounds. Compound is also pure compound. Say for example, hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen chlorine, both are present in fixed ratio in every molecule, therefore it is a pure compound. Like this, copper sulfate contains copper, sulfur oxide, 1:1:4 ratio. Always combine the atoms in the same fixed ratio. So therefore, compounds are also pure substances because they constituted with the same elements in the same ratio. Understanding? The particle of a compound constituted with same elements in a same ratio of atoms. Therefore, it is a pure substance. Now, elements have been used since early days. So here is there are so many elements are there. Iron is there, lead, copper. So like this, these are so much help to the society, to the universe for the development of civilization. So for 4,000 years ago, there is alchemist up to the, including Isaac Newton's, up to from a long back period onwards up to the Isaac Newton's, they attempted so many ways to explore elements. So unearth means attempted to unearth the new elements, and they are also tried to study the properties of the elements. Now, first one is Henning Brand, a German chemist, boiled down this urine to discover phosphorus. So he imagined that phosphorus is present in the urine. So he boiled this urine to get the phosphorus. Of course, may not be, but it was not until later, 1700, that our knowledge of the element really took off. As chemists developed a new ways, so here so much and so many methods are carried out to discover these so many things. So in due course, Sir Humphrey Davy was extremely successful for discovering many elements. So he discovered sodium, magnesium, boron, chlorine, and many more. Like this, he discovered Sir Humphrey Davy discovered many elements. Next one, Robert Boyle used that name element. Suppose the iron is there, sodium, magnesium, boron, what they are called? They are called elements. So that word element was first used by Robert Boyle, and Lavoisier was the first to establish the definition of the element. So what is meant by element? So according to Lavoisier, element is defined as a basic form of matter. Element is a basic form of matter that cannot be divided further into different components through chemical reactions. So what is that? Element as a basic form of the matter that cannot be broken down into simple substances by chemical reactions. This is called definition of element. Who gave this definition? The Lavoisier. And the name element was used by Robert Boyle. Elements discovered by Sir Humphrey Davy. Sir Humphrey discovered many elements, and these substances are called element. The name is given by Robert Boyle, and the definition was given by Lavoisier. What he said, he defined what he did, how he defined. He defined an element as a substance. An element as a substance. An element as a basic form of the matter. An element is a basic form of matter that cannot be broken down into simple substances by chemical reactions. So if any substance can be separated into two or more components through chemical reactions, that substance is called a compound. So here the two words are there. What is a compound? What is an element? First one, element. According to Lavoisier, an element is a substance. An element is a basic substance of the matter that cannot be separated into two or more simple substances by physical methods, but they are separated through chemical methods, chemical reactions. Once again, according to Lavoisier, an element is a basic form of matter. An element is a basic form of matter. It cannot be separated into simple substances by means of chemical reactions. So once again, Lavoisier defined the word element. So element is defined as a basic substance of the matter or basic form of the matter. You can say basic substance or basic form of the matter that cannot be separated into two or more simple substances or simple components by means of chemical reactions. Then it is called element. Means element cannot be separated. Now what is a compound? If any substance can be separated into two or more simple substances by means of chemical reactions, then it is called a compound. Right, now undergo this understanding the nature of the element compound. So one more concept. Activity number 11. So you are understanding the nature of the element, compound and mixtures. 5 gram of iron, 5 gram iron, and 3 gram sulfur, 5 gram of iron, 3 gram of sulfur. Take it in a China dish in both the groups. There is one China dish, and here also there is one China dish. Here we take this composition: 5 gram iron and 3 gram sulfur. Here also we take this one: 5 gram iron plus 3 gram sulfur. Take it. So now, in both the cases, you crush it with a hammer. Just you take one hammer and crush it. Just to crush with a hammer. After crushing it, now first one, test with a magnet. Just you take the magnet and move this magnet. So what happens? We can separate the iron from sulfur by using magnet. Just you move the magnet, all the iron particles are attracted by the magnet, so we can remove these iron filings. Then the remaining is the sulfur. We can separate these two components by simple method that is called magnetic separation. Now second method. So the mixed compound means the crushed compound is heated thoroughly up to red hot. These two components, after mixing, after crushing, heat to red hot. When heated to red hot, what happens? It becomes a black colored components. Check them for magnetism in the material. Now you take the magnet and move it in the substance. What happens? This is not attracted by the magnet. Not attracted by means we cannot separate the iron and sulfur just by using magnet. Compare the textures and colors of the material. Here you find sulfur is a yellowish color, iron is the brownish color remains as the colors are not changing. But in this case, this brownish color and yellow color converted into black color. Converted into black color. So the next part can be divided into, if you have, let's see, each group should divide this material obtained into two parts. Add the carbon disulfide one part, stir well and filter it. So after heating you get some product. Here is a new product is forming. New substance. New product means a new substance. A new substance is forming. And that substance just you take in two watch glasses. This substance is the new substance takes some ammonia here and some ammonia this one. And here add the carbon disulfide. And add carbon disulfide. So then stir well and filter it. Add this dilute hydrochloric acid to the second part. To this part add hydrochloric acid. What happens? Now observe this one. So after the reaction, so do you find the same substance of forming after the reaction? Did the materials obtained by the two groups looks like the same? No. Here in carbon disulfide, the sulfur dissolved substance, iron is left over. Sulfur is means here carbon disulfide dissolves the substance and liberating hydrogen sulfide gas. It is liberating hydrogen sulfide gas. But here it is liberating only hydrogen gas. So in one case it is a hydrogen gas. So can we separate the components of materials? So we cannot separate it directly because carbon disulfide dissolves the substance, but hydrochloric acid chemically reacting. Did the gas in both the cases smell the same? No. The gas obtained in the first group is with the HCl. With HCl, hydrochloric acid is a colorless gas, odorless gas. No smell, no color, just only gas is liberating. In the second case, you find it is a pungent smell and is irritating smell, and it is a hydrogen sulfide gas. It is a colorless gas, smell is a rotten egg smell, irritating pungent smell, rotten egg smell. So it is hydrogen sulfide. We observe that products, both groups are shows different properties. The products are different properties. The starting materials were the same. Here the starting is what material is there? Same material, iron sulfide. Here what is there? Iron sulfide. Both are the same material starting. But on adding carbon disulfide, it has some other property by reaction. Here by adding hydrochloric acid also has some other chemical reactions. So that in the reactions you find, when you add hydrochloric acid liberating a gas, that gas has no smell, no odor, no color, no taste. It is a hydrogen gas. In the second case you find it is a rotten egg smell is there, and it is a colorless, of course colorless, it is a pungent smell, and it is a irritating smell, is a hydrogen sulfide gas. So this indicates the properties are different. Though the starting material is same, but after adding this hydrochloric acid, carbon disulfide, the chemical reactions takes place, so that the next products are different. Group 1 has carried out activity involving a physical change, whereas the group 2 is a chemical change. Here group 1 is a physical change, group 2 is a chemical change. Physical change, chemical change. Here physical change means iron and sulfur are mixed in a variable proportion, but here iron and sulfur are mixed together in a fixed proportion forming a iron sulfide, it is a new compound. So it is a chemical chain, it is a physical change. So the metal obtained in the group 1 is a mix, just one is a mixture of the two substances. In the second case, second group, the component producing iron sulfide is a new substance with a properties different from the iron and sulfide. So therefore you can find new substances are forming in the chemical reactions. New substances are not forming in the just mixing of the components. Okay, so we can separate the components of the compound through chemical reactions, and we can separate the components of the mixture through physical methods. Understanding? Here the components are separated from the mixture by physical methods, but here the components separated from the compound through chemical reactions. Therefore, iron sulfide is a pure compound. Iron and sulfur is a pure substance, pure elements or substances. Okay, now understand clearly this last. Okay, we will continue the next period.